Alright, Paul, we're going to go over a couple things today from your lesson here the other day. For this purpose of this lesson, we're going to go over our bat angle at toe touch, and we're going to get a view of why our swing isn't really optimal right now and what we can do to basically make our swing as complete as possible and get a little bit more out of it. For now, I'm going to go ahead and start your swing up, and we'll let it play a few times. And the main thing I want you guys to notice right now is how it appears right now that our swing is cutting itself off toward the end. And mainly when you see a swing cut off like that, it really has something to do with what's going on our back side of our swing. And what we're going to notice here in a few is that the back side of our swing is really causing us to not get to our optimal bat lag, which our bat lag is really the place of our swing right before we choose to release the bat head through the strike zone. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it here, and we're going to bring up Prince Fielder here. And once you get an idea of what we're talking about when we're meaning of getting to our optimal spot during bat lag. Okay, now this is Prince Fielder from a home run derby here a couple years ago, and we're going to put you both at toe touch right now. And one of the things to notice right off the bat is how our hand placement is. Now, naturally, Fielder carries his elbow higher, but ideally, if we're looking on our side now, if our elbow wants to sneak in like that upon toe touch, what happens is we have a tendency to lay our bat head down a little quicker through the zone. We notice automatically that the angle of our bat is slightly different than Fielder's natural angle. Now, the angle of the bat, it really depends upon where we have our hand placement also. Some players, they choose to have their bat angled as the way you do, but ideally the hands need to be a little bit closer toward the body if we're going to angle it like that. So for this right here, I'm going to go ahead and give you a point of reference on your swing to give you an idea of where the angles have changed. Now this is just an approximate value right here. We're about at 23. I'd say we're at 23, anywhere from 23 to 26 at that point. And to give you an idea where Fielder's at, he's all the way, well, that's a little off, but I'd say he's probably about anywhere from 42, 45, somewhere right around there. So that gives you an idea of the difference in angle that we simply have just based off our toe touch. And right here, this is really going to be an indicator of how well we can release our hands to the strike zone and how fast and how efficient we can be to the strike zone. Alright, I went ahead and took both measurements off, and I want us to notice how quick Fielder is to his bat lag, and then we're going to compare how quick we are to bat lag. We're going to go here to give him toe touch here. Okay, we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 8 clicks right there. For our side, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we can tell an obvious difference. One, obviously our bat lags are slightly different in comparison to our body simply because pitch location is going to be slightly different. But the speed can obviously be about the same length. And for now at this point, our bat lag is one of the main reasons why we're having a harder time of getting to this spot a little quicker, simply because of our angle that we took earlier. I really think if we make an adjustment more to where we want our hands to start towards the zone a little faster, that will help us get to this spot in our swing a little quicker. And one thing to notice too is at this point we want to really get some separation of our body from this position. So if I forward us a couple of frames here, we'll notice that we're not getting too much separation of this front arm right here. If we go over here to the right, we're going to see a lot more separation occurring. And that's ideally what we want to happen. Now, there could be several reasons why we're not getting the separation, and the main reason why is simply because of what our backside's doing. Naturally, if our backside is a little slower, then our front side is going to suffer because of it. And just to illustrate, here I'm going to go ahead and show what our finish looks like right here. That's about our extension point right in this area right here. We're going to notice a difference here, even though we got a higher pitch here obviously, but we notice when we get everything generated like that how his arms fully extended, everything's fully extended, and that's really what it takes to get X amount of force, to get our max amount of force out, is to get as good on that backside as we can, so that way once we get to that front side everything can clear out as efficiently as possible. And another thing I think we can work on a little bit here, and just to give you an idea of how to create max amount of force, we're going to take a look at where you guys start at with your stance, and then where you guys go with your load, and then into contact. Now ideally when we make a line right here, we'd like to see the players go way past that or this point of line on their contact. We want to see them get a lot amount of separation. That shows that they're getting enough weight transfer. Now, one of the exceptions to this rule is if we're ended up in the same spot that we began, or we're doing a toe tap and our stride is going to the same exact spot. But there's got to be a principle that we have to follow if we're going to do that and still get max amount of power. And that principle is our load has to be able to carry us back to more than halfway of where this line is on our starting point. To illustrate that, I'm going to bring you to your negative motion. Actually, I'm going to bring both of you at the same time. And we'll notice a big difference right now in that Prince Fielder's crossed this more than halfway, still has, you know, great load going on right there. And we'll see from our spot that we're not quite getting halfway. So naturally we're not getting as much force in our body that we possibly can. And so just to see where we end up at contact, when we'll go to toe touch for now. As we can see, the body start moving forward, and this kind of illustrates too, like we were talking about earlier, Paul, when we start losing this bat angle a little bit, everything else will suffer from the get-go, just from there. That'll cause our hands not to want to start near as quick as we can if we just get a slightly bigger angle and kind of tuck that elbow up a little bit more. And now when we come to contact, we can see both of us, or both sides here, are ending in the same spot that they began. But the big difference is Fielder's got a little bit of tilt to him, and he's allowed his hands to separate out. So he's going to get the ball a little bit more out in front of himself, a little bit more than what we are on our side. Alright, Paul, so for now we're going to see what our body can do, or what we can do for our body here in order to get us a little bit more efficient. For one, when we are loading up on our backside here, and I'm going to circle right now, or actually I'm going to put a dot in where our foot's starting, and once we load, our foot touches back, and we'll re-toe touch. So we're covering the same distance on both sides. Now, what has to happen on our load right here, once we start going forward, that body has to start moving forward a little bit. As we can tell, the hands are still loading down, which is fine. They're getting synced up. But then we can tell our body doesn't really get too much shift forward. Now, if we just get just a slight more amount of shift forward, we'll be able to create a lot more energy. And one of the ways that we can do that is simply to get our load more toward our backside. When we see, and we'll put this line back down, when we can tell right here when we load up and we're not crossing this threshold, then we know that we're kind of stopping ourselves, you know, about 20-25% of the way of where we could get on our load, just simply by getting more rhythm in our body. The more rhythm we get in our body, that will open up a lot more parts to our swing. So we'll work on that here a little more this coming week, and just keep doing the drills I showed you, and I'll see you later.